Laura Tyler joined BHP in May 2005 and was made BHP's inaugural Chief Technical Officer in September 2020. The CTO role represents key technical and operational capability on the BHP executive leadership team and is responsible for the group's technology, value engineering, innovation, metals exploration, and centres of excellence for maintenance, projects, and resources. This role is tasked with improving sustainability, operational reliability and productivity through operational and technical excellence, performance improvement, and innovation. The technical team also seeks to secure additional options in future-facing commodities via operational incremental improvement and through global metals exploration success. Laura has worked in management roles for BHP in Australia, Canada, and the UK, and has been a member of BHP's executive leadership team since 2017. She began her career in 1988 as a geological engineer at Ground Explorations Limited, and she moved into the mining industry in 1995 at Mount Isa as a mine geologist. She has since worked in various operational and technical leadership roles with increasing levels of seniority. Prior to her current role as CTO, Laura was the asset president for Olympic Dam, and that was in that role from July 2018 to August 2020. And in her role, she was responsible for the safe and sustainable operation of one of the world's most significant polymetallic resources, with Olympic Dam producing copper, uranium, gold, and silver. Prior to the role of Olympic Dam, she was the Chief of Staff to the CEO at BHP, a role that enabled the CEO to effectively fulfill his commitments to the board and to the company. Laura's also worked in other senior roles at BHP, including Asset President for Cannington, Vice President HSEC Aluminium, which was in London, and General Manager for the Ekati Diamond Mine, which is in the Northwest Territories in Canada. Before joining BHP, she worked for a variety of companies, including WMC Resources, Newcrest, Mount Isa Mines, and the British Geological Survey. Members and guests, please join me in welcoming Laura Tyler to the Melbourne Mining Club.
Thank you, Patrick. I'm a bit exhausted after listening to all of that. It always sounds different when it's all put together by somebody else. I do want to thank all of you for being here today and for the opportunity for me to be here and address you. I'd like to start by echoing our great MC's respects to the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet today, and indeed to the traditional owners of the many lands on which BHP operates. And I would personally would like to acknowledge the traditional owners as the first scientists and engineers in Australia. I'd also like to acknowledge the Melbourne Mining Club Chair, Richard Morrow, who has been very welcoming, including giving me a signed copy of the history of the Melbourne Mining Club, which is very, very nice. The co-patrons, Lee Clifford and Hugh Morgan, who's unfortunately not here today, but if you could pass on my regards and thanks. The MMC committee, I'd like to thank them and congratulate the committee on another terrific year with an increasing diversity of speakers, including myself. I guess I counted amongst those three. And of course, a big thank you to everybody here in this room, partly for turning up today to get your annual Christmas lunch, but also for your contribution to our industry, particularly over the last 12 months. I just want to acknowledge that. Today, our industry remains core to the future as the world seeks to solve some of the greatest challenges that we face. For BHP, this is core to our purpose to bring people and resources together to build a better world. There's no doubt this is an exciting time to be in mining and resources. And today, I would like to discuss why I believe the mining industry is vital to the future, how innovation and technology is helping solve some of the biggest industry challenges ahead of us, and a little bit on the BHP growth agenda. But I do want to kind of point out that these pieces rely upon and are enabled only with skilled people. And so as the Chief Technical Officer for BHP, I want to urge you all, the leaders of our industry, to consider how we can find ways to get more skilled people in through the front door. In fact, how do we not just get them through the front door, but how do we get them through the back door, the side door, lining up down the street, enthused by the prospect of being a technical guru in this great industry of ours and doing something for the greater good? And this is our challenge. But first, given this is the last Mining Melbourne Club lunch of 2022, I did want to just reflect for a moment on the year that we've all had. There's been an obvious dark shadow over much of the world for the last 3 years. And this, plus other issues such as supply chain interruptions, inflation, energy prices, geopolitics, continue to impact and shape the world over the next year. But there's a truth about this industry that has been proven again this year. The resources sector is resilient. We are innovative. We've been around for millennia, and we persevere. Adversity forces change. And I have to call out, as the person that runs the technology group in BHP, the outstanding work by all the technologists in our industry. They enabled a remarkable response to the pandemic. At BHP, we changed how we operated almost in a week, and this most extreme of tests was passed with flying colours. People across our industry picked up digital ways of working how they never have before. We now work more flexibly. We are more comfortable working and managing remotely. These changes were coming, but the pandemic catalysed them within our workforces, and they are now here to stay. The technology and innovation ecosystems are a great source of inspiration to me. As a sector, we have barely scratched the surface of what is possible. And we have seen through the BHP Ventures Group and BHP Explore, both ways in which we're inviting new ideas into our organisation, the appetite for innovators and discoverers to engage with us. This bodes well for the future. We've emerged a sharper, more focused industry than ever before. Our role as a supplier of many of the commodities the world needs is irrefutable. I think even our critics realise this now. We need to enable the world to achieve the twin aims of decarbonisation and improving living standards for a growing population. The numbers are compelling, and I'm sure you've heard them from us before. Under our Paris-aligned 1.5 degree scenarios analysis, copper production would have to double over the next 30 years relative to the last 30. Nickel production would have to increase nearly fourfold over this period. And the world will need almost twice as much steel in the next 30 years as it did in the last 30 years, including demand from the many infrastructure projects and such as wind turbines. We've also recently heard Madeleine King, as Resources Minister, talk about the increasing demand for lithium, for cobalt, for graphite, for rare earth elements. And Jim Chalmers, as Treasurer, get quite focused on critical minerals and their processing. It's a tremendous opportunity for our sector, an energy transition that could drive demand growth beyond the supercycle. But it is also a substantial responsibility that we have to deliver these commodities safely and more sustainably. And as we seek to deliver on this opportunity, we will need to see huge changes in the way the world works and the tools that we use. And because of that, the jobs we will offer in the future will be different. In fact, the jobs we offer now are different. And this is often described as the fourth industrial revolution, the step change we have to have for automation, data analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the like. For us to seize the opportunity ahead of us and to meet our responsibilities will take the very best of us. We will need to work together, innovating and driving the technological edge further than before, supporting a new kind of resources workforce. To pull this future towards us, all of us must work to secure the talent and the skills that we are going to need. Innovation and technology will continue to solve some of the biggest challenges that we have in the resources industry. Innovations to date have meant that our operations are safer. They are more productive, more efficient, than they have ever been. On safety, for example, we know truck automation greatly reduces the fatality potential in our open-cut operations. Why is this? Because the biggest single risk for fatalities is eliminated through higher order controls. We are taking people out of the line of fire. And we've seen the results of our investment. Where we have implemented truck automation at Jimblebar and Newman, there has been a 90% reduction in near-miss events involving vehicles with a fatality potential. I'll just say that again, a 90% reduction in fatality potential incidents. It's amazing. We've extended that automation to our fleets in Dornier, South Flank and Goonyella, and are in implementation at Spence and Escondida in Chile. And we expect to see the same results in those operations. The advances of autonomous haulage by OEMs, such as Komatsu, Caterpillar, Liebherr, delivered in partnership with our companies, with our industry, is delivering a step change in safety by engineering out one of our biggest risks. We know that decision automation using real-time data feeds from onboard fleet management systems provides a more efficient and productive result, shift in, shift out. When the reliability of the equipment rises, safety improves, maintenance time is reduced. And I don't have to tell you that more safe tons per hour and more hours run means less cost, greater efficiency, and less carbon per ton to produce. This is the competitive edge we are all chasing, we are all seeking. But we need people with the ability to drive these outcomes. Even as we retrain our people to meet the challenges of new ways of operating, we know this will not be enough. We need more technologists, more data scientists, more mathematicians than you would believe. We compete for such talent, not just with each other, but with the cool kids, such as Google and Amazon, with the defense and pharmaceutical industries, with governments, with NGOs, in order to attract and retain the types of people we need for the future. And we must lead the way in developing this workforce. As I said before, to pull this future towards us, we must all find ways to secure the talent and the skills that we are going to need. With the volume of commodities needed, growth will be key to our ability to deliver what our customers need. Growth in our existing production, growth in the deposits we're identifying for the future. It's difficult to find new deposits. They don't just kind of crop out on the surface like they used to. They're becoming deeper. They're harder to access, and they're in more challenging regimes and environments. We kind of all know how exploration works. We identify some promising geology, get a few people like me out there. What do we think of the geology? We start sampling. We do some drilling. The process can be invasive, but it also takes time. But there are some amazing new solutions in the technology and innovation and data space that are making this process so much more efficient and so much less invasive. At BHP, we use mineral systems methodologies to identify the terrains that we think are interesting. And then we use a range of non-invasive land and airborne sensing techniques that can allow us to better understand the subsurface, both greenfield and brownfield. The new technologies allow us to target those drill holes that we still have to drill much more effectively. And the additional data we can see between those drill holes is allowing more efficient mine design, mine planning, and through more accurate resource characterization. It all seems very obvious, but is actually quite hard. We need others to engage with us. This means, as an industry, we have to embrace new ideas, new ways of working, and new ways of thinking. Not always easy for a company the size of BHP, I can assure you. But if we want to get the best ideas, bring our industry the brightest new minds, then we have to show up differently. Importantly, we also have to acknowledge that we don't have all the answers. And so at BHP, we are different today than we were 5 years ago. We've made investments in startup companies like Cobalt and Sensor here in Australia, like SRK and Deep IQ in Chile. These use advanced AI techniques that allow us to widen our search space and cover the ground faster. These sorts of investments happen through our venture capital arm, BHP Ventures, who get to see some of the most exciting stuff going on in the resources ecosystem. We're also trialling techniques normally used in the oil and gas industry, such as large-scale deep hard rock 3D seismics, to provide us with faster and more accurate information about our mineral systems at depth. A program recently completed over the Olympic Dam area has provided our geologists with a whole new swag load of information that will inform future work, both at Olympic Dam and at Oak Dam just down the road. And it's perhaps an overlooked asset of ours, but we have a veritable lake of data at BHP. Legacy data gathered over 140 years of operations of BHP, Billiton, and all the other companies that have formed today's BHP group. I think every time BHP took over a company, we got another container load of drilling information. Much of this is now digitized, and we're using machine learning to leverage that data for our exploration geologists with some really meaningful results. We also know that opening ourselves up and inviting good ideas in will only make us stronger. In that spirit, we launched a program called BHP Explore this past year, looking for new concepts, disruptive concepts, please, in early stage minerals exploration that we can help accelerate and mature. Explore is a global program that searches for startups in the early exploration stage by supporting prospectors with innovative and breakthrough ideas to find new mineral deposits. It merges concepts from both venture capital and early stage accelerators, offering mentoring and networking to make a difference. It sounded a bit bad, didn't it? Internally, we've also shifted the way we work to implement the digital technology our teams use. Our industry generates volumes and volumes of data every single day, every single shift. How we organize, analyze, and use that data is really important. Our technology team has set up digital factories at each of our operating assets to find, curate, and use the data already available to define new solutions to existing problems. Working with the operational customer to deliver minimum viable products fast are agile teams of data engineers, stack developers, cybernetics engineers, and software engineers. Together with product owners, they are changing the relationship of BHP operations with the data that they collect. Underpinning all of these changes are people. The engineers, the scientists, the mathematicians, the technologists, and the innovators, both in BHP and in our partner companies, suppliers, and customers. So while some skills are specific to our industry, mining engineers, geologists, many are not. Many have transferable skills. All are interested in personal growth and great work experiences. They, like all of us in this room, want secure and interesting work that makes a difference in the world. How do we attract and retain these skills from mining engineers to stack developers to industrial engineers and venture capitalists? We need them all. We have to talk differently about the work that we offer. As we automate and electrify our operations, move work to remote centres, change the very equipment our maintainers look after, we also have to train for new skills. We need more electricians, more digitally savvy operators and maintainers, more robotics experts. On a visit to one of our coal operations last year, I spoke with a maintainer completing field checks with his iPad. He took me through how he completes the check on the new autonomous fleet at Goonyella, how he pulls it out of the circuit, parks it up, disconnects it from its system, does all of the checks, uploads the information, and then sends it back on its way back into the circuit. He could point to the real benefits of a new way of working, from the connectivity to the preventative maintenance plans and the uploading of issues in real time, to the assurance of a job well done, because he could trust the data his cross shift had put in because of the standardized work techniques we were able to bring to bear, to the new skills he had gained that had given him the confidence to join Facebook with his grandkids. He was in his 60s, and he was telling me how great it was. All those old people didn't really get it yet, but he was an interesting character. He was engaged and pleased with the change. The tools had made his work better and had made it more reliable, had made it safer. Our people are eager for change. They see the opportunities it provides and they want to be engaged. Some are a little nervous maybe, but they're excited by the future and what it can bring for them and their communities. So what are we to do? If I look at my own experience, starting as a geologist logging core samples in the late 1980s, the world has changed markedly. And we need to bring our people with us on this journey. We simply just don't have enough of them at the moment. Increasingly, we need more digital skills in every aspect of what we do. You may have seen some PwC analysis last year that suggests we'll need 21% more mining engineers and geotech engineers and 29% more metallurgists in 2040 than we did in 2020. And they're just the skills that we've used for years. We need to train more of them now. And we need to make sure they all see our mining industry as a stable, attractive, and dare I say it, exciting place to work. And we all need to step up and help make that happen. There are some really good signs that we're taking this seriously and that we're on the way. There are programs like the Nexus program at Adelaide University, which is developing a pipeline of exploration geologists with particular skills around deep cover exploration. BHP has instigated a first-year intern program that was oversubscribed 7 times and resulted in 60 graduates deciding to switch to resource-facing subjects for their following year of university. We've established a technical entry program to welcome back people who've taken a break from the workforce, but who've wonderful skills that they just need to find a way to re-engage. And we've put in place retraining programs for the automated fleet employees. They have experience we do not want to lose, but which they now need to access in different and safer ways. And we see the need for different jobs, different jobs that are more engaging, interesting, and keep people in the regional centres. Our Future Fit academies in Perth and Mackay intend to bring 2,500 apprentices and trainees through in the next 5 years. That's 500 additional apprentices and trainees every year. And we're a partner with the Queensland Future Skills Partnership with TAFE Queensland, Central Queensland University to support pilot programs to enable existing workers, particularly in those regional centres, access new and exciting skills in the new technologies. We see the value in the metallurgical education partnership between the Minerals Council of Australia, Curtin University, Murdoch University and the University of Queensland, which now produces all 4-year trained extractive metallurgists in Australia. They are like hen's teeth at the moment, extractive metallurgists. And Rio Tinto has put substantial work and effort into looking at how we fund advanced automation with the WA government and South Metropolitan TAFE. These are all good programs, and there's many more of them out there. But we need more of them if we're going to continue to pull the future towards us and make our industry a place where technologists, scientists, engineers, and artisans see that this future as being theirs and the one that they want to engage with. So to conclude here, it's not an overstatement to say the future of mining is integral to the future of society. The challenge will always be, how do we recover the resources that are needed? How do we do it better? How do we do it more sustainably? How do we get the right people to join our industry and to join our teams? Everyone in this room contributes in some way to the gears and machinery that keep the global economy and the global community moving. It's an exciting time because the need for what we do has never been clearer. But we have to innovate to deliver. That's delivering on technology and innovation, delivering on sustainability, and continuing to pursue the goal of making mining a safe and attractive place to work. Not one company represented in this room can do it alone, and we can't do it the way we've always done it in the past. So we're getting towards the end of 2022, it's when we reflect on what has been, and we're getting to the start of 2023, when we reflect on what is to come. So as you consider 2023 and beyond, I'd ask you to ask yourself, what can you do to help build the next generation of resource workers so that we can all build that better future and we can do it together? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for such an insightful presentation, Laura. Now to questions from the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow committee members, Sam Street and Richard Shoddy are holding up microphones. Please raise your hand if you've got a question and either Sam or Richard will make their way to you. Before you ask your questions, I do ask that you stand up, state your name and your affiliation before posing your question. Perfect. Laurie, the first question's over there.
My name's Sophie Allen and this is Eric. We're from Monash University. We're both geology students. You spoke a lot about losing future staff, I suppose, to NGOs and things like that. And I think a massive barrier to that is the perception of mining, like in terms of the moral perception and fossil fuels and those sorts of things. How do you see that changing going forward? How do you think you can change that perception?
And I guess a small little add-on to that is how can we promote the morals of the mining industry? Because I don't think those morals are presented well to people from our generation, because I know there's a lot of other lobby groups and some of my friends work with NGOs and we have, I guess, discussions about more the negatives of the mining industry rather than what they're doing positively, and I don't really find that being promoted as much as the negatives are promoted by other people, I guess, working against you in a way. Yeah.
An excellent question, and you make the point perfectly. We have to do better at how we stand up and how we communicate. I have 20-year-old children. They regularly tell me that we aren't doing a great job at communicating what we do. I think part of it is how do we actually have those conversations, and they need to be personal conversations. They can't just be, flashy ads on TV, because that doesn't necessarily convince people who want to ask valid questions and want to stress test what we do. One of the ways within BHP, which I kind of reference in here, is looking at our first year intern program, which is a specific 8-week package of, I guess, challenge sessions that we allow 60 graduates to put us through and take them across our business and talk to them around how we deal with traditional owners. How do we manage FPIC? How do we think about sustainability? What are the questions we get asked around ESG? How are we thinking about the future and decarbonisation and getting to a zero carbon world? And I think we have to do better at being involved in those conversations, because what we've seen is when we have those conversations, we can show people that what we do is not a rape and pillage of the planet, but is actually, delivering the commodities the world needs in a way that is thoughtful and that is seeking to make sure that we all have a future on the planet Earth, and that we can still supply the commodities that the world needs. So I think you kind of raised one of the points that I was making, is we have to do better, and how do we do this as a joined up effort. Many of the Minerals Council of Australia, the AusIMM, those sorts of groupings where we come together are looking at how do we develop these conversations, but we still have to continue to get better and not just be speaking to the converted, but actually getting into the conversations that can be very challenging, and making sure that we're open to those questions. Yeah.
Thank you for that question. Our next question is just in that corner of the room.
Thanks, Laura. Ronan Gillen from La Trobe Magnesium. Just in the theme of technology and decarbonisation and the challenge facing our industry, you were recently in the media stating that nuclear power needed to be in the mix for baseload generation in Australia. Along that theme, with small modular reactors being at the forefront of that technology, and we've seen this year an agreement between the Polish copper miner KGHM and a developer of SMRs to power their mines from 2029. What are your views on the use of that technology to help us in the decarbonisation path within the industry in general? And are we ever going to see a small modular reactor at a BHP site someday?
So if I have my way, yes, I guess is the simple answer. Look, I think the small modular reactors, I mean, we've been discussing them for a number of years. Even when I was up working in northern Canada, 10 years ago, we were saying, is that the sort of technology that we should be seeking to develop? And I think some countries are further along in that conversation than others, and the technology has continued to advance and to become more reliable. From if I look at the BHP perspective, we say everything should be in the mix. All those conversations should be happening, across the full scale, so that we can have that base load that we need to give us that reliability, at the same time as making sure that we are able to maximise the use of renewable energy over fossil fuels. The simple answer is, will we see it at a BHP site one day? Yeah, maybe. I would like to think yes, and hopefully in my lifetime, but we'll have to see. A lot of it comes down to government policy and regulation, and rightly so. We need to make sure that communities are ready for that change, and continue that conversation.
Thank you. Our next question is in this corner of the room.
Hi Laura, it's Di from Morgans Financial. It sounds like picks and shovels just aren't used anymore, doesn't it? I suppose when you talked about a lot of the programs that you have in place, it's very impressive. How does BHP sort of collect that talent and keep it? And second part to the question is, do you feel that the government migration program plays a part in your skill accumulation, if you like?
So I think, how does BHP accumulate that talent? I'll be honest with you, I think there's a real, yes, BHP, we would like to recruit the best and brightest graduates, and we would like to keep them for their entire career. That's not how I built my career. My career has been through multiple different companies, and I think that brings a level of diversity and innovation. So I would encourage, while we're looking at how do we lean into universities, we need to be doing it as recognising that as an industry we're actually building not just what we need for today, but also the leaders of the future, and how we continue to develop those leaders. And that does not involve everybody coming to work for BHP. Obviously that would be a very limiting development of the industry. So, but I think even if we think about how we think about those different courses and the ways that we can do that, it's still not going to put enough bums on seats, so to speak, in order to fulfill the needs of the industry going forwards and the skill sets that we need, particularly today. We've still got a development piece that we need to work on. So we do fully support whether it be the federal or state government's approaches to skilled migration. We just need to make sure those programs are balanced. I do want to make sure that we've got enough local students, enough Australians getting the training that they need to be able to take advantage of really great, exciting, interesting, well-paid jobs in the mining industry. But I don't think it's one or the other. It's going to have to be both. And so we just want to make sure that the door is as wide open as possible to get the right people that we need to have to support our industry going forwards. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. Our next question is just from the middle of the room.
Hi, my name's Sarah Mansell and I'm here with Wally. My question was about a lot of the time in sustainability, we kind of really have our focus on decarbonisation, and I do see the importance in that. But one of the issues that the mining industry is going to face in the future is resource scarcity, especially water scarcity, which, as Richard was talking about, it takes a ton of water to make a ton of ore. So how do you think that our sector is going to face that going into the future, especially with the growth that you speak about?
Yeah, look, a great question. I mean, and that kind of talks to, I guess, some of the other skills that we're going to need, which is how do we have great project skills, because we're going to have to be building and thinking about how do we manage, one, how do we get the water that we need or the power that we need or those services that we need in a way that doesn't impact on the environment. So if I think about Escondida, we have actually pulled all of our water now is produced in desal, and we pump it up to the Atacama Desert as opposed to drawing down from the local aquifers. So that's a change we've made. It means you have to invest but for the water that we need. But the other space is how do we then work also looking into the future with different innovation companies, people who've got great ideas to say what is the future of our industry and how do we actually do comminution without using water, for example? How do we extract without using water? And setting those problems, setting those challenges out there, and then investing in the time and the effort that it's going to take to solve for those. So I think we're going to have to do both, because it's not going to be a light bulb moment that will go off and we'll solve that problem. And there's going to be a continued use of the existing technologies that we've got, the existing infrastructure that we've got, but how do we then build on and make sure that we are steadily reducing our impact on the environment? And we've seen that we can do that. Escondida remains an incredibly profitable asset inside BHP, a tier 1 asset, and it uses desal water from the coast. So it is possible, it's just a little bit harder, but we can do it.
Thank you. Our next question is in that corner of the room. We're in a fantastic marathon of questions today. Loving this.
That's Stephen Scott from Pack Partners. With the 4 times increase in nickel and doubling of copper, what's the step change that gets us there, given we're longer, harder, deeper, and there's more pressure around the edges than some of what you're trying to do?
So a lot of it means we actually need to find more copper, we need to find more nickel, is the simple answer. But we also need to continue to look at how do we extract the maximum from those deposits that we do find, and how do we continue to, in effect, pull our costs down to put more, to bring more of the lower grade material into our mine plans. So from my perspective, it's two-sided. What do we do with what we've got? So how do we continue to innovate? Look at, what are we sending to tailings? Some of our nickel sulfide deposits still send a significant proportion of sulfide into tails. So how do we really get after some of that and pull that forwards? One, because it will make us more money out of existing infrastructure, and two, because it just seems such a waste to send great resources out to tailings. But the second piece is how do we go find more? So to your point, if you've already got, for example, Olympic Dam runs at about 92 to 93% copper recovery. That's not going to allow you to double because you've not got very far to go. You actually need to put more copper into the market. So we are looking at how do we continue to not only extend our existing ore bodies. So we're doing a lot of drilling at Escondida and Olympic Dam at the moment, underground, to look at, what other ore body do we have that's present and that we could extract from those particular ore bodies, but also how do we go out and find more, which is why if we look at the metals exploration in BHP, we have moved from being purely based in Santiago and chasing porphyries in Chile and South America into how do we think about a global space. So moving out and getting into those other areas and looking for more copper and nickel where we know it should be, we just got to go find it. And that means we need to apply technologies and innovation in order to be able to look deeper, to look harder, to look more efficiently, because we need to find it quickly. We haven't had any really major copper discoveries for years. So how do we get out there and find that? And that's not just going to be the big boys and girls on the block doing that. That is all of the all of the prospectors, the explorers, the smaller companies that underpin a lot of what our industry is, and that's where BHP Explore is attempting to kind of assist and help people that are coming through with great ideas to turn those into new deposits. But a great question, because where is it all going to come from? It's going to come from the companies in this room.
Thank you. We have time for one final question, Laura, just from that gentleman there.
Rod Lindquist is my name. I'm a guest of Reti Capital Partners. I've read that as a consequence of the takeover of Oz Minerals, BHP may be considering building a smelter at Olympic Dam. Can you enlighten us any further?
We do actually have a smelter at Olympic Dam, as you're probably aware, but I know it is around the two-stage smelt that you're asking, are we going to build another smelter? The Olympic Dam ore body, of which sadly I probably have more knowledge on than you would want, the copper sulfur ratio has allowed us to have the kind of like the direct feed smelter now, the single smelter that we have now. The ore body structure is changing, the mineralogy is changing, and it's subtly shifting. So we will have to put in a two-stage smelt into Olympic Dam at some point in the future. Not tomorrow, it's down the track, and we're working through that. What size is that smelter, I think, is probably the fundamental question that you're asking. And so the size of the smelter that we put in there, we look at it, we've got Oak Dam just down the track. I believe it is a highly prospective area. So we're still out there looking for other ore bodies. I think there's more Oak Dams out there, we just have to go find them. And that would then provide us with a steady feed, an ongoing feed that would allow us to decide on what size smelter we want to build. The actual size is still up for debate. We haven't done the detail on that yet, so we're working through that. Oz Minerals is still, we've still got the due diligence to complete on that. There's still decisions that have to be made. Shareholders have to have their view. So I'm not about to start kind of chucking in that into any of the debate at the moment. But we do see there's prospectivity in that region, and we see that a basin play is something that is definitely attractive to us.
Thank you very much. Everyone, Laura's given us some fantastic insight today, and to give her presentation the thank you it deserves, I will now like to welcome Candice Ota, who is a partner with White & Case, to deliver the vote of thanks for a keynote that wonderfully closes out 2022.
Thank you, Laura. It's fantastic to hear the incredible innovations that you and your team at BHP are working on and the positive global impacts that will result. It's really clear that technology has played and will continue to play a crucial part in making BHP's activities safer, more productive, and more sustainable. We in the law firm industry are also constantly on the lookout for skilled and innovative lawyers and other employees in the law firm, so please don't take everyone. Members and guests, please join me in thanking Laura Tyler for sharing her thoughts with us today.
Do you all know what I get given? For a geologist, what more could you want than a new S-wing? I think it's great, and thank you so much.